Hi, I'm Kelly Gann with Kelly Gann & Company, and I am a certified professional photographer and a graphic designer. As a member of Professional Photographers of America, it is my job to kind of stay up to date with all of the possible ways that you can use Photoshop to improve photography and different ways to improve your skill as a photographer and as a light manipulator and a designer as a whole. So sometimes, from time to time, I will get a request to work on images that someone else has taken. This is a friend of mine. He has some pictures that he did with his point and shoot camera, and he was kind of unhappy with the way that they turned out, so he emailed them to me to see if I could work on them and kind of salvage them a little bit. So I've opened up a couple of these in Photoshop, and I just want to kind of show you some quick, easy tips that you can do in Photoshop as a beginner to kind of improve some of the standard, typical issues that an amateur photographer might face. So as you can see from looking at this image, it is underexposed. The background is exposed properly, but the people are underexposed. The only way that he could have fixed this to start with, or to prevent this from looking like this, would to have been to use a flash, like an on-camera flash or an off-camera flash. And it actually looks like he did use an on-camera flash based on the glare in the older girl's eye. That is a glare from an on-camera flash, but the reason that the flash didn't succeed in lighting them is because he was too far away from the subjects. So to prevent something like this in the future, he could have stood a lot closer or used a better flash, like an off-camera flash, that maybe if the off-camera flash had been set to the side here, like at a 45-degree angle, that would have allowed for some slightly better lighting, you know, as far as creating shape without creating glare in the eyes. So that's just a little bit of a lighting tip right there in itself. But that's okay. What we're going to do now is zoom in and try to fix the glare. A couple of my favorite tools to use in Photoshop for pictures, like portrait retouching and stuff like that, is the healing brush, the patch tool, the clone stamp, and the paintbrush, and dodge, and burn. So these are just kind of your basic toolkit right here. So what I'm going to use for this particular issue is I'm going to clone data from the part of the image that I want to copy, and I'm going to use that data to fix the part of the image that I'm unhappy with. So now that I've chosen my clone stamp, I have dropped my clone stamp size down a little bit to a reasonable size for the part of the picture that I'm working on. So we're going to deselect out of the box. Okay, so we have our clone stamp. If you press the Alt key and you click on the information you want to copy, what it has done is it has basically copied the data from that location, and you've created a path to copy. So basically, you'll notice that my little plus sign that's following me around, that is what I am drawing information from right now. So as I am doing this, I'm copying information from my right hand side because that's where the Alt key selected data from. So we're going to use our Alt key again and select data from different parts around the eye to try to make this look a little bit more realistic. Now, because of the low quality and low amount of detail in this image, we're pretty much working with nothing. We have to kind of pretend that we know what her eye was shaped like in particular, and so I'm just going to kind of leave it at this because this is just kind of a general eye shape. Okay, so there's not a lot of detail here, but that's okay. We're not going to make any wall canvases of this. We're going to double click on our hand tool to come back out, and now to lighten the image, we're going to go to Image and Adjustment. You can go to, there's a few different ways you could do this. A lot of you might instinctually want to go to Brightness and Contrast. I tend not to, just because it kind of, I always feel like it doesn't do as good of a job as I want it to. But if you go to Levels, you can kind of play with the levels here on the histogram. So this will, you know, in effect brighten the image to a certain extent. If you just change this back and forth, you'll see how that kind of changes the levels of lighting. And so what we've done here is kind of brightened it just all across the board. I'm going to bring this one in to kind of increase some contrast and give some more definition to the image. Okay, so that's kind of what I did there. There's really, for me, it's just kind of guesswork. You just play with it until you get it how you like it, and then you hit OK. Now I could also have gone to adjustments and gone to curves, and if I wanted to make any further adjustments, I could do that. I could bring that curve in to increase even more lighting. I could bring this part of my curve up to brighten the photo even more. I think that that's a little much, so we're going to bring it back down, and we're going to leave it at that. Okay, so that's a lot better. If you wanted to see the original and compare, you could go to File, Revert, and it'll show you the original. And then you can go to Edit, Undo, Revert, and it'll show you what you have created so far. So you wanted to, let's see, if you wanted to just leave it at that, you could go to File, Save As, and you know, I always like to save as so that I don't copy or save over my original image in case for some reason I need that. So we'll put a B there at the end of this file name, and that will suggest that this is the second rendition, so to speak. Save and hit OK. And now that file is good to go. So there's a few more things that you could do to this image. You could crop it a little bit, make it a little bit more appealing, like that. Maybe zoom in a little, and if you wanted to reduce the noise, you could go to Filter, Noise, Reduce Noise, and I just kind of leave my noise reduction filter set at its default because I find that I'm usually happy with the way that it looks. So we're going to hit OK, and then you could see an instant improvement. It's just smoother in general. It's not as noisy. Okay, so one thing else that you might want to do now that you've reduced the noise is go to Filter and go to Sharpen and Unsharp Mask, and you'll immediately see a difference. You might want to tone down your radius and the amount. It just depends on what you have it set at. I had mine set really high for a specific image that I was working on earlier, but in this case, you know, I'm going to leave it around 35 for my amount, and then 3.5 on my radius pixels. Okay, so you hit OK, and if you wanted to see the original and compare, again, go to Revert. Okay, let's do like this so we can see the whole thing. Okay, so this is the original, and go to Undo, Revert, and you can immediately see the difference. I think that this is a major improvement. I wouldn't go putting this on a giant canvas wrap and, you know, frame it and put it up on my wall. It's not a portrait per se, it's just a snapshot. But those snapshots are sometimes the best images that we get, and you know, it's good to know how to improve every picture that you might possibly want to keep forever. You know, this might be an image that really speaks to the person that owns it. So we're just going to go to File, and I'm going to just put Save because I've already created a new file name for it, and we're done with that. Okay, on to the next image. This one is a little bit more of a challenge. In order to fix this, or to prevent this from having this sort of a lighting issue, number one, don't shoot in the middle of the day, and don't shoot whenever there's no clouds. Clouds allow the sun to be kind of diffused, and that's what prevents these harsh shadows. Also, you could have prevented the harsh shadows just by having a off-camera flash, maybe like over here to the side. Off-camera flash is really a photographer's best friend. If you can learn to master an off-camera flash, then you can fix any situation. You can shoot in the worst lighting conditions possible if you know how to manipulate off-camera flash. So if you don't have an off-camera flash though, and you're just starting out, or you're just kind of a beginner or just a novice, you might just try not to shoot in the middle of the day. Try to shoot whenever there's a little bit of overcast or whenever the sun's not quite as high, because that's going to allow you to get better lighting. Another thing to consider is that whenever you're looking through your viewfinder and you're looking at your subjects, if you see shadows on their faces, that will show up on the image. What you see when you look at the people is a direct representation most of the time of how the image is going to look whenever it's printed. So what we can do here to try to fix their faces, I'm going to try to do this quick and in a hurry because I only have 4 minutes left on my screen recording time. So I would go to my dodge tool and I would choose shadows probably just to start with and see how that looks. Now might increase my brush size a little bit and just kind of play with it a little bit. And okay, you can see that it's kind of discoloring him. That's because of the range that we're on. We've chosen shadows. So we're going to go back to midtones and see how that helps. Okay, now we can see his face better. The problem is that it's kind of messed up looking and everything. That's just, you know, from the lack of data and information. So what I've done here is I've taken my patch tool and I'm taking the area that looks a little bit messed up and I am patching it with data that's around it. You see how I'm pushing my circle up? Well, that's because the area above it isn't as messed up. So whenever you do that, you are patching it with data in the area that you are moving to. Just kind of consider this like a skin graph, I guess, in real life. So there we go. It looks a little bit better. You can see the improvement already. There's a harsh line here that's from the lighting, and you know, you can try to fix the whole thing if you want. For a snapshot like this, it may not be worth your time, but just kind of, you know, to each his own, however much time you want to spend messing with it. Okay, another thing that you could do is take your paint tool, right click, make sure that you have a regular circle brush, and oops, didn't mean to do that. Okay, by holding the Alt tab and clicking there, what I've done is I have made my foreground color, as you can see right here, the same color that I chose. You can see it changes every time I click somewhere else. But what we want to do is we want to get color tone that's closest to where we're editing. So we'll do that. Now that's really noticeable. So to kind of draw that back some, I'm going to go to Edit, Fade Brush Tool, and fade that down, and hit OK. Kind of do that just all around the line. Edit, Fade Brush Tool, fade that down. Okay, we're getting there slowly. You could also go back to using your dodge brush if you want to, kind of see how much that helps you. You could go back to using the patch tool and kind of bring that back out. If you wanted to fade what you just did in patch tool, you could go to Edit, Fade Patch Selection, and kind of fade that opacity level back some. Every tool has their own purpose, but I tend to incorporate several of them whenever I'm retouching skin because it just kind of depends on the situation. Sometimes the image is going to work better using the clone stamp, and sometimes the patch tool is a lot faster. It just kind of depends on each image. And that's something that the more that you use Photoshop to retouch skin and the more that you get familiar with each tool, the more that you'll learn to gauge what buttons and what tools work best for what you're doing at the time. Okay, so if you want to see what it looked like before, you go to Revert, and that was before. Go to Edit, Undo Revert, and this is after. Okay, clearly we can see his face better. It's still not very, you know, perfect. There's no way to, you know, completely fix it really without it looking a little unrealistic. So we're going to leave that as it is for now and you know, kind of move on. You could come down here to this face and dodge some more. If you wanted to patch that out. could patch out some of the problem areas like that. Anyways, I mean, and you just kind of go face to face and see what you can do to try to fix it. That's the thing with snapshots, is that you just kind of have to be prepared for it to just be a snapshot.